The handsome young man had just turned around. The next second, amidst an ethereal mist, a dark, menacing monster quietly arrived. Plugging in the solar receiver panel, its magic points began to rapidly recover. This film is definitely an epic masterpiece of 2024. The protagonist, Paul Rudd, once starred as Marvel's Ant-Man, so his acting skills are naturally top-notch. At the same time, the film's special effects are maxed out, and the scenes are magnificent. It is absolutely this year's most worthwhile fantasy epic. The story begins thousands of years ago. In a palace on the Eurasian continent, several guards were rushing over. Someone had noticed something amiss in the palace's meeting hall. The bearded leader was about to touch the main door, but he was instantly stuck fast. The others quickly came to his rescue. Just then, a team member recklessly swung an axe. After breaking down the door, they were all dumbfounded. The room was covered in a thick layer of ice. All objects were frozen solid, like an ice sculpture exhibition. Suddenly, they spotted a soldier in the corner, holding an orb that wasn't frozen. So, someone went up to take the orb, but as it turned out, the sleeping demon had awakened. 1,000 years later, a strange car was speeding down a New York street. As the car drove on, manhole covers on the road kept bursting open. Something terrible seemed to be brewing underground. The people in the car, however, remained very calm seeing this. They were certain something was about to cause trouble. No sooner had the words been spoken, a large worm flew out right after. No, wait! It was a water dragon that flew out. Upon seeing it, the girl inside the car immediately activated a device. I have to say, this device is pretty awesome. Then, with a long-range arc attack, it zapped the water dragon until it was numb. It seemed their goal was to capture this water dragon. However, this alone was definitely not enough to handle it. Next, they launched a drone. With masterful flying skills, they successfully captured the dragon. But because the driver was too excited, he crashed directly into the bicycles on the roadside. And because of this action, they attracted attention. Soon, their actions made the news. Even the mayor personally issued an order. The reason is, although they are a Ghostbusters team, the girl on the team, Phoebe, is a minor. After this was reported by the media, the others on the team could no longer let Phoebe stay. Besides, the mayor had already issued the order, so they had to comply. In fact, the entire ghost-busting team is a family. They place the captured ghosts into the containment unit, and this containment unit can securely trap these ghosts. Due to the news report, Phoebe could no longer participate. She became quite bored. One day, she went to visit a friend whose father runs an antique shop. There, she unexpectedly discovered her friend was keeping a ghost. Just at that moment, a customer came into the friend's father's shop wanting to sell a brass orb. His name was Nadim. After looking at the antique, the shop owner thought it was just some old piece of junk. It wasn't worth much money. Without much thought, he accepted it. But just as he was about to test it with his equipment, a strange event occurred. First, the equipment malfunctioned. Then the house began to shake. The water in the bottle froze instantly. Even on the street outside, an ice dragon shot past. And the ice dragon's target was the Ghostbusters containment unit. The shop owner was startled by the sight. Clearly, this piece of junk was not a good thing. He quickly sent Nadim away. Meanwhile, the Ghostbusters leader, Paul, also noticed something was wrong. But he was also confused, not knowing what was happening. Over here, Paul's son inadvertently discovered a secret hole in the ceiling. At that moment, an unknown liquid was flowing from the hole. He climbed into the attic and found a pile of junk. However, something seemed to be hidden in the junk. He was about to see what it was, but I have to say, that jump scare almost made the narrator wet his pants. The scene changes. It was time for another mission. Phoebe couldn't go on the mission. She could only go to the park dejectedly to play by herself. But she had just started playing when a ghost appeared opposite her. Phoebe, being used to such sights, didn't pay it much mind. Little did she know this ghost named Melody would bring her great disaster. On a mission, Paul from the Ghostbusters noticed a problem with the containment unit. They then went to the Ghostbusters headquarters. However, headquarters couldn't find the problem either. But for safety, headquarters allowed them to temporarily store their ghosts there. And here, everyone witnessed the high-tech equipment of the headquarters. Besides many containment units, the most powerful was a machine that could strip spirits and extract her. It can quickly extract an attached spirit from any object. At this moment, the antique shop owner happened to bring that strange brass orb here. He felt this thing was truly sinister. He came over to see what it really was. Next, they began the extraction process. However, the process was exceptionally difficult. It seemed the extractor was struggling to handle it. And there was also a problem with the power supply, just as the ghost inside was about to break free. Fortunately, a team member fixed the machine in time. Only then did things calm down. Just as everyone thought it was safe and prepared to take out the orb, the next second, the orb fell to the ground. Immediately, as if by some connection, the ice outside began to spread. An ice dragon instantly formed on the street and moved rapidly. Even the containment unit at the Ghostbusters home was affected. At that moment, the ghost named Melody suddenly stopped. She said to the air, "I don't know if you viewers understood that, because I certainly didn't." Meanwhile, Phoebe was awakened from her sleep. Her mother told her the situation with the containment unit looked serious. The area around the unit was in ruins, covered everywhere in icicles. And back at headquarters, they discovered the brass orb was indeed very strange. It could actually absorb other ghosts. While their attention was diverted, in an inconspicuous corner, a red beam of light frantically slammed against its containment. Faced with such a bizarre orb, the shop owner took Phoebe on a shared bike to an old library to seek knowledge. The librarian was clearly not one to slack off at work. He quickly found an ancient text about the brass orb. It recorded the legendary history of this orb. Legend says this orb is the magical prison of a demon god. Imprisoned within is a demon named Garraka. About this powerful entity, it is said that thousands of years ago, he served a king named Sodom, and this Garraka was a formidable being. He helped King Sodom expand his territory, achieving great merits. But because he was too powerful, it made the king feel insecure. He feared that one day his subordinate would seize power. So he found a way to viciously betray Garraka, breaking his horns and imprisoning him. But the imprisoned Garraka was unwilling to die just like that. So he desperately escaped, formed an army, and returned to darkness. With eyes as his blade, wherever he passed, nothing was left standing. Not a blade of grass grew. But where there is darkness, there is light. Because of their rampant killing, mysterious fire masters appeared on the other side of the darkness. Through the fire masters' efforts, they finally subdued Garraka and sealed him within this brass orb. Over the next several thousand years, the fire masters continually reinforced the orb to prevent Garraka's escape. And the method for reinforcement was in this black cylinder. As he said this, he wanted Phoebe to listen to the recording inside. But before he could play it, the cylinder was snatched away by a suddenly appearing mysterious beam of light. It then jumped into a garbage bag and fled. The group quickly gave chase, but this garbage bag ran faster than a rabbit. It vanished in an instant. Just as they were searching through the trash heap, the librarian turned and saw the bag on top of a stone lion. Before they could go and get it, the stone lion came to life in the next second. It opened its cherry-like mouth and sweetly lunged over. At the critical moment, Phoebe used her proton pack to cut off the lion's tail. The lion turned and charged towards them. In the nick of time, the proton pack suddenly misfired. Luckily, the battery was made in China. It saved their lives at the crucial moment. Although this matter was resolved, the cylinder containing the sealing method was also destroyed. For breaking the rules, Phoebe once again received a stern reprimand. This time, even her own parents criticized her. She had done it with good intentions, but this was the outcome. In a fit of anger, Phoebe chose to run away from home. On the road, she met the ghost Melody. Melody expressed sympathy and understanding for Phoebe's situation. At this moment, Melody's timely comfort brought a trace of warmth to the cold-hearted Phoebe. A bold idea suddenly sprouted in her mind. Then, Phoebe secretly took Melody to the Ghostbusters headquarters. She wanted to use the extractor to separate her own spirit. She wanted to experience the world as a ghost, just like Melody. And the result was, Phoebe successfully separated her spirit. Overjoyed, Phoebe went to give Melody a hug, never expecting this was all Melody's conspiracy. It turned out Melody had long been controlled by Garraka. During their conversation that night, Garraka offered to let her see her family again on the condition that she deceived Phoebe. And the final result was clearly that she succeeded. With Phoebe's chant, the brass orb disintegrated, and Garraka descended upon the world. Just then, a headquarters employee saw this and instantly opened fire. However, this bit of electricity was like a tickle to Garraka. With a wave of his hand, it vanished into thin air. Next, Garraka arrived at the shop owner's collection store, and the opening scene occurred. The scene shifts to the beach. People suddenly noticed dark clouds rolling over the calm sea. Next, the seawater began to freeze. Icicles like sharp swords frayed people's nerves. It was like the apocalypse. Meanwhile, the Ghostbusters discovered that Nadim could control fire. However, this bit of fire was really too small. It couldn't do anything besides light a cigarette. No one paid it much mind. After all, the most important thing now was to fight Garraka. Immediately after, they began to modify their weapons. And at this time, the ice outside was slowly closing in on them. An eerie bicycle wobbled forward. Then, a red beam of light shot in. The red light first controlled a car to crash into them. When that failed, it started folding paper airplanes. Just as people approached to check, it burrowed into a proton gun. It then activated the gun to attack. At the critical moment, everyone was stunned. They discovered Nadim could control proton energy. Taking this opportunity, the others quickly destroyed the proton gun. Then the beam escaped into a pizza. As it was swaggering away, it was mercilessly eaten. By now, Garraka had reached the door. Wherever the powerful Garraka went, it was instantly frozen. Their attacks were useless against Garraka. With a wave of his hand, the ice shattered. And under Garraka's power, the containment unit couldn't bear the strain and cracked. Just then, an armored warrior descended like a divine soldier. A stylish entrance instantly made him the center of attention. He calmly took out a lighter, but the lighter really didn't cooperate. Instead, Garraka snatched the lighter away. Then, Garraka unleashed his frozen domain ultimate move, taking control of the entire area. Everyone was unable to move. Finally, having enough time to charge up, Garraka released his ultimate skill. A beam of light shot up into the sky. As the beam rose, the thousands of ghosts trapped in the containment unit also escaped. At this moment, Phoebe, looking at the destroyed unit, decisively fired and hit Garraka. However, although her weapon was a bit more powerful, it was still somewhat lacking against Garraka. Garraka just blew a foul breath, and Phoebe's attack instantly collapsed. She herself was then frozen. Just as Garraka was about to extract Phoebe's soul, a small flame suddenly lit up. Then, Nadim instantly became a master of fire. Everyone was quickly rescued. But after a round of attacks, they still couldn't kill Garraka. An old team member said if they can't kill him, seal him with the containment unit. So everyone quickly tried to restart the unit. Finally, after a hard-fought battle, Garraka was successfully sealed. The demon was finally sent back to hell. And the movie ends here. This frozen empire can be considered a sequel to Ghostbusters. The original Ghostbusters was filmed in 1984, and this frozen empire greatly continues its storyline. In the film, the themes of good and evil, sympathy, help, and deception are vividly portrayed. At the same time, the film's humorous elements are handled just right. Well then, that's all for today's video. If you liked my video, please like and subscribe. Your support is my greatest encouragement.